know, yeah.
No, it was really funny. One minute we couldn't hear you, then you couldn't see us.
Are we live?
I'll tell you in a sec.
Alan, what about the new Joe Malone?
Which one?
They've ripped off the tobacco and vanilla.
All right, we're back. We are back. So our subject today is how you structure your life in a way that enables success, and what are the positive steps that barbers can take to optimize their opportunities and just live a good life. So you're going to start by introducing yourself, please.
Neil, you go first, mate.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having us today. Interesting topic. We're starting to talk a bit of my language, and my name's Neal Toner, and I'm the director of JF8 Social. It's a male grooming company currently based in Northern Ireland, and we are a company that's founded to inspire, elevate, and connect. That's what our core belief is at the company, and basically, it's to bring the elevate part is to bring the barbers together and things like this here and rise together. I'm a firm believer in that together everyone achieves more. So to connect with someone like Alan and yourself, Rachel, it's an honour.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming.
I don't think I'm going to beat that intro. It's beautiful, that, mate. But I'm Alan, and I own Ruger with my younger brother, Reese. We've been together now for pretty much 6 years. And very, very similar, we have a mission statement which is to become a globally recognized company, known and recognized for the growth and development of others. Because at the end of the day, if you can cut hair, which everybody can these days, that's great. But it takes so much more for someone to reach down and pull someone up with them. And I think that's kind of like our ethos. And I think, like you said, everyone is stronger together. And what a lot of people don't realize is that it takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of self-development in thinking of these habits or getting yourself in the mindset of these habits. So we're here to share them with you in the hope that we grow together and we evolve and obviously get taken a lot more serious as professionals rather than just barbers, which is a term that I can't stand because we're so much more than that.
Yeah. Love that. So how do you do that?
The interesting part of these exchanges for me, and it definitely is the same for yourself, Alan, as it was with my last guy, Ryan Cullen, is that there are two guys that are at the highest level in male grooming, and for aspiring barbers, they hit the top headlines, and that's in regards to the celebrity footballers is the biggest accolade in the news. But what I want to get out of Alan and Ryan for the viewers and the apprentices, the freshmen, the young barbers, is the actual skill set that has got them to the point of that. That's a secondary goal. Alan has primary things that he does daily. As we've mentioned, you're looking 10 years younger than the last time I seen you. I want the junior barbers to see and hear those things and to learn them and to put 10 years of hard work in, and they will then in turn hit the goals that you have hit, but you have to do the other stuff first.
Oh yeah, I don't think, I mean, if you look at the iceberg effect, people see this nice towering iceberg above the water, but what they don't realize is that an iceberg tends to be 90% underneath the water, and underneath that water is things like pain and suffering and sacrifice and hard work and late nights and early mornings and missing social events, missing friends, missing family. Now, obviously, family is a massive, massive thing to me. My family are everything. But you do miss out on things. And unfortunately, to be successful and to be at a level that, you know, is going to make you completely fulfilled and satisfied, then there has to be a certain element of sacrifice.
Yeah.
And people don't see it because you do post on your Instagram, you know, you might be in one of the footballers' houses or you might be on a plane going somewhere. But that Instagram's just the highlight reel. It's just the best bits. You don't see the phone call off your wife because your little boy's teething and he's kept her up all night and he's got a sore bum. And you don't see all those bad bits. All you see is just the good bits because no one wants to see the bad bits. They only want to see the good bits. So it's a good point to make that we talk about how the systems you have in place or your processes to make sure that you're continuing to move forward.
Yeah, I think it's important. That's what we've spoke about just offline. There was the rituals. A ritual sounds, I'm sure it does to most 16, 17, 18-year-old barbers and maybe some older ones. A ritual sounds like a word that it's like it only happens in like the mountains in the Philippines, and it's, a ritual is a daily habit, as
Yeah,
you've touched
just
on
a
habits.
routine.
Yeah, and if you don't have those things, you can't be working at your optimum. I quite like the analogy of, we only on average have a staff member or ourselves being worked for on average 78 hours a day, some days more, some days less. If there's 24 hours in a day, if you haven't got those 24 hours in a day in check with your rituals and at peace, you can't work at your optimum behind that chair for the 7.
No.
So Alan, what are your rituals? What do you do?
So I've always had this thing where once I started getting rid of bad habits and gaining new ones, I started getting to a kind of routine. And whenever you're cutting hair, or whenever a habit becomes so habitual and so like ritualistic, like you said, that it's done without unconscious thought. And my goal is to gain a new good habit. And once that good habit is so cemented and embedded in me, then it just becomes part of my identity. So let's go back like 3 years time. I think I'm very, very outspoken about this now, because now I can look back at it and talk about it. But I had a severe drink problem, and it got to the point where my unit count was about 380 a week. So if you work out how many units are in a bottle of vodka and or whiskey, Jameson's, and think about how many bottles that is a week, and that's how bad it got. And because it became habitual for me to do that, but that was a bad habit. Now I had to kind of break that cycle, and I got lots of help, and in the end it was a book on mindset that changed. So instead of that feeling of deprivation where I was depriving myself something that I wanted, not needed, something that I wanted, I changed that feeling of deprivation to a feeling of elation. So I switched that mindset over. Instead of feeling like I needed something and I wanted it and I was deprived of it, I changed that to feeling of elation, where I felt amazing if I didn't have a drink that night. And I stopped drinking on the 6th of January, no, the 5th of January. So my first full day was the 6th of January 2 years ago. And we're pushing 2.5 years, never touched a drop of alcohol since.
No way.
And I think since that moment, I had this massive, intense clarity that I knew I needed to start breaking bad habits. So because I was drinking at night, my blood sugar was really, really low. So if we're talking about health and habits, this is a good one to start on. My health and habits, I was drinking every night, which would put my blood sugar like extremely, extremely low, which means I would need to eat all day.
Yeah.
So when my blood sugar started going back to normal, and all these different things started happening with my body that I didn't know about because I was so doused in alcohol, that I started to get a different feeling, a different sensation. So I started doing something called intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And I did it on and off for the first year, which means I would do it for a few months, and then I'd go on holiday or I'd go and work away, and I would break the cycle. Now, for the past 13 months, I've done it religiously. And it's got so many benefits. Intermittent fasting, things like fat loss. Obviously I've lost a lot of weight recently, and that's through being consistent with my intermittent fasting. Lowers your blood sugar, it increases mental clarity. So
Cognitive function.
mate, honestly, everything about it, even down to like cellular repair and things like that. I have never been so focused in my entire life. And the second that I stopped drinking, I was doing okay anyway in the industry, and I did all that with one eye closed, and now both eyes are wide open.
It's mad, Alan, even from a distance. And obviously I have known that story and I've been with you at times, in that 2-3 years ago. But I can even see, standing back and watching, the difference.
Yeah,
And it's a level of professionalism
yeah,
that's coming across. So what you're doing, Alan, is you're in thriving mode. Your
yeah,
body's thriving, and it's important for people to understand, because I'm quite open and vocal on podcasts and stuff about, over the years I've took a lot of drink and drugs, and I know that in the industry it's seen and promoted in that way at times. But the people need to know that how you're feeling today, it releases the exact same chemicals that all the other drugs release.
yeah.
So you're thriving.
Just
The
dopamine.
sympathetic nervous system is just
All
fucking pushing out.
yeah.
Yeah.
All dopamine. When you get that sense of fulfillment, when you have your first drink or your first bit of cocaine or anything
Yeah.
like that, as soon as that dopamine's released, now all you got to do is just change exactly what
break the patterns.
Yeah, exactly.
So
one question that's come up, Alan, is what was the name of the book that changed on mindset that you read?
So it was specifically based around stopping drinking, and it was called Alan Carr's The Easy Way. Okay. So Alan Carr, he does books, and it's kind of like hidden cognitive behavioral therapy and changing your mindset into things like smoking, drinking, gambling.
That's great. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, and then in terms of health, there's absolutely nothing better in your entire life than training.
Yeah. What kind of training, Alan?
So I would say a couple of years ago, I was doing a lot of CrossFit, and I've always been kind of a resistance person, and just because shorter, I can always kind of deal with my body weight, but now you go through stages, don't you, through your life? And I remember I wanted to be big, and then I wanted to be fit, and then I wanted to be ripped, and now it's literally just about
being.
Yeah, and just testing myself and seeing what I can do. So I run 5K every other day now, and I have 2 runs. One's a hill run and one's a flat run, and I'll do 5K on them. Just constantly try and break that. Just kind of break every single time, just to push myself even more.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And what you obviously you're CrossFit, aren't you?
Yeah. My brother owns a CrossFit box, and which is quite interesting through these times. He has went online. So for anybody that's at home and you're struggling for workouts, it's called the gym is called CrossFit Infected, but his new business is called Infected Lifestyle. And basically what it is, it's home workouts, and you need a skipping rope, 1 dumbbell, and a backpack.
And that's it.
And that's it. That's it. It's a new model, and it's at a fraction of all gym prices. But it's a new model to get people moving. Mark's ethos was that he wanted to be able to program a workout that even my mum could do. My mum does CrossFit, so and that's right through her ages. So from your entry level until they're carrying you up the main street in a coffin.
Yeah,
he wants to be able to program something for them. But like yourself, Alan, had a rough couple of years. And really, for me, the changing point was one of my first son being born. And I put a post up yesterday, and it said shit changed the 17th of the 11th, 2011. And really what happened, and I spoke to a guy yesterday on social media, was I had to sit down and think about what did I value in life? Because the things that I was doing wasn't bringing me any value.
No.
It was releasing the pain that I was living in for a brief period of time, and then the pain came back, and it came back 10 times stronger. So that I didn't value it, but I was doing it as a release. So what do I value now? I value communication. Like obviously my family, seeing my kids grow up, being a good parent, being a good husband, being a good friend. I wasn't any of those things in the early days of my parenting. Wasn't a good friend. Probably a wee bit of a rat like nattering to my wife. And they're the things that I value. So whenever I can get up every morning with my journal, I write 3 things every day that I'm grateful for.
Yeah,
and it changes that chemical.
The best things for you as well.
And Alan, it's not just a word, sure. It's not. It literally releases the chemicals.
Yeah.
The feel good things, like the drugs. If I get up in the morning and people laugh, I walk around the garden with my sandals off, my Birkenstocks that I've been living in for the last 5 weeks, because it earths you. It just clears everything out. I see our bodies EQ up and down through flicking on social media, through receiving a text message, through coffee. And what I'm looking for is peace and stillness and calmness. Yeah. So with my nutrition, I basically try and stick to the CrossFit sort of nutrition plan. It's eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. We eat 28 meals a week in my house, and one of them is a cheat meal. It's on a Saturday evening or a Sunday. No sugar during the week. We make things like a healthy banana bread, and try and stay as lean as possible. And again, like yourself, my cognitive function is like it's never been before.
Yeah, definitely. And especially when you're running businesses and things like that. Like I remember on a number of occasions, Rachel even saying to me, like, Alan, you are going to burn out. You are going to burn out.
Yeah.
And I would look in the mirror sometimes and I would say to myself, like, I like it. I thrive off that pressure. And I would like the pressure. I would, because you get like a massive sense of fulfillment when you are put in a really difficult situation and you've got to problem solve and you've got to do everything. But wouldn't it be so much easier if you could just be at peace and be a lot more chilled? And
Yeah.
I find doing things like reading and having not a massively set schedule, but having a routine, having a schedule, but it's there, and I try not to deviate away from it. But it's not the end of the world if I do. If I
Yeah.
said that I'm going to start reading at 9:30 and I don't, and I start reading at 10, it's not the be all and end all because it's still scheduled in there. But I think that's one of a really, really good habit for people to get into, is to have a journal, have a job list, have things that they write down, documenting their feelings, documenting things that they're grateful for, documenting jobs that need to do in the day, and then having a diary to kind of set it in.
Yeah.
One of the questions that's come up is when you are building your career, how do you achieve that balance? How do you achieve a balanced lifestyle when you're sort of really focused on building a career?
I think it's kind of working at a completely different intensity. So I would, there's 24 hours in a day. And if you think of each one of those hours being a chip, like a casino, and you have different chips. So take away between, 6 and 8 for your sleep. How effective are you using the rest of your chips? So are you sat down watching Netflix or on your phone scrolling and scrolling and scrolling for an hour whilst you eat your breakfast? A breakfast can take you 10 minutes to eat, and then you've got the rest of that chip then to do a training workout. It's about using your time effectively. So I get to the shop at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and between 8 and 9, I will do at least 3 to 7 of my job list for that day.
Brilliant.
And again, it's just about working effectively, managing your time well. And that's what, going back to, having a journal and having job lists and a schedule. And then you can use that. And I said on a podcast recently that, it's not the greatest thing in the world to sit there and go numb, turning into mush, just watching Netflix all the time. But I do like watching Netflix. I do like a series, and I do like a film. But I will earn those chips. I will earn those 2 hours, and then I'll use them.
Yeah, I think a big thing for just that last question is getting clarity on what your goal is. One thing that's always inspired me with a few companies, and one of them is Ruger, is that they're very, very clear on who their target market is.
Yeah.
So don't go chasing absolutely everything and anything.
Great.
Because you're a barber or aspiring to be one, it doesn't mean that you have to be an educator. Barbering, as in the service and delivery, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, per se, is a completely different industry than what being an educator is.
Yeah.
You need a system, you need a program to go and deliver as an educator. And I think the line's a wee bit blurred at the moment with barbering, and I think it's due to social media. That guys kind of feel as soon as you become a trainee that your objective is to become an educator. And that's a different industry. That takes more study. That takes a much higher level of confidence. What's your opinion, Alan, just with that?
So it's the glam of it. It's the kind of the kudos that comes with the travel, the social media in front of big crowds, taking selfies with a massive crowd behind you. It's the kind of the way that it's perceived, and what people think is, right, I'm going to learn how to cut hair and I want to be an educator as soon as possible because I want that lifestyle. It's very, very, very difficult, and it's very, very. It takes a massive, massive toll on your life. And I think if people have a different goal, like to be successful is obviously to have whatever it is that makes you happy. And you know what? Like I do say it, if you have intrinsic motivations, you'll do better than anyone else. So if you're only focused on making other people happy and making your team around you grow and making an impact on the world by changing something or doing something and making a difference. Whereas if you have just nothing but extrinsic motivation where you're only focused on money and you're only focused on fame, then you will not grow nowhere near as organically and nowhere near as quickly and as beautifully. It's nice to grow, but you have to have that intrinsic motivation before any of the else comes. If you are only focused on what's external, then it will not happen for you, unfortunately.
That's interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and while we're here, a shout out to the Alan Beak podcast.
Barber soup.
Yeah. They said in the podcast, everything that's fulfilling must grow. If it doesn't grow, it won't fulfill you.
Yeah.
So, and that doesn't mean you can put Instagram followers into that bracket because you can grow your Instagram. It's not a living organism, or like your child, or flowers, or nature, or building a team. Things must grow and develop for it truly to fulfill you.
I think in that respect, what I always say to people is, like, whenever I'm teaching, you should always just try and make tiny adjustments. And again, going back to this journal, thinking of 5 things that you are not good at, or thinking of 5 things that you do not like about yourself. And once you've got those down, they're your goals. Because obviously, like, setting goals and having a vision is extremely important to me. So what I do when I have those,
fix those things.
Sorry,
your goal is to fix those things.
Yeah,
you said 5 things that you don't like about yourself.
So things that you're not very good at and things that you don't like about yourself. They're my goals, like 10 goals, things that I want to change, okay? Now, if we make tiny adjustments every single day to reach that goal, and think of the system in place, what you need for each one. So you have the goal, that's the end goal, that's at the end of the road. Think of all the obstacles in that road that are going to get you to that end goal. And think of the system that you need in place to actually get there. If you focus on the system itself, then the goal will find itself.
Yeah, completely. Interesting.
So again, going back to the adjustment thing, imagine if you make one adjustment every single day. And let's say if you moved a plane 1 degree to the left-hand side, on the tarmac, it won't look like anything, but a 5-hour journey, it'll be 1,000 miles away from where it was. Now, if we interpret the miles into a year's time, if you do one change tomorrow, a year later, there'd be a massive difference.
So you talked about podcasts there, Neil. What are the things, or where do you go for your personal development, and what do you look for?
I have a number of things, Rachel. I podcast quite a bit. My brother has a podcast. It's called the Mark Toner Podcast. I've actually got into Alan's over the last 2 or 3 weeks, which is really good.
Thank you.
What's happening with both those podcasts, when I think about what's attracting me to them, is I can resonate with them. I'm hearing stories on Alan's from the shop floor and from his past, and even his accent is I can resonate with it. The same with my brothers. I quite like the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm a big fan of it from
Brilliant.
day dot. And I have done my work, Rachel, to clear out bad patterns of my past. That's with my auntie. She's a life coach. DeirdreMcGuire.com if you want to check her out. And basically what that is that goes right back into your childhood. So one of the things I'm very passionate about now, and it's one of the extremely attractive things about Alan, is our kids are programmed between 0 and 7. And in around the age of 7, within reason, all we do is repeat how we are programmed. So that's what affects people at 30 pulling the trigger on business moves, is how your parents, and our parents only done the best that they could in raising us. But for talk's sake, if you're the older brother, you may have something underlying that your parents always put the pressure on you to make sure you always look after Reese now whenever you're out. So your primary goal now is to look after Reese. And I have had my own things. I'm the middle child.
Standard. I'm me.
Middle?
Yeah, middle.
Oh, you have an older brother?
I have an older brother, yeah.
Right, yeah. So I was the middle child. I measured myself by somebody else's yardstick. I wasn't academically smart. So I told myself from my 11 plus in P7 that I was a failure, which led on then to going into high school and failing again. And then I was another failure. And then I was an electrician and I didn't pass that. So it was another failure, which resulted in me at 19 years of age in complete turmoil because my older brother was passing things. He was getting firsts in his university degree. So what this told me was I needed to go and do the work with my auntie. She basically took me right back to every moment that from parents shouting at home, which is only in their best interest. This isn't a hit at parents, because the interesting part of this today is that I am parenting myself at the moment. So I'm thinking, what am I doing that when my son is 25, he's going to go, fuck, that was my dad. My dad was in X, Y, or Z. So I went with Deirdre, I've done the work, and I am at complete at peace with my past. I'm at peace with drug abuse, alcohol abuse, being a shit friend, being a shit partner, all those things that it leaves me today, that my mission now, peace is the primary thing, and it's the primary thing in my house. And it's going to be the thing after this pandemic's over, is the energy that you bring. It's tough for us to decide who comes into our businesses being a public salon, but I won't be bringing team members in that aren't using the same energy, or coming into the company and fulfilling everybody else. There's no down days, there's no mood. You can't bring your baggage into work with you. And I want it to be a place of fulfillment, a place where you go to be inspired, a place where the staff love to come in. So that's where that's my journey. I've done the work with my Auntie Deirdre. And now I just listen to podcasts, try and get inspired by other people's stories. And yeah, nature inspires me now. It's so strange. I can't really just get outside and like to talk to my son about the birds chirping and the leaves and the like a big thing at the minute, the cherry blossom trees, and just it warms my heart, so that when I go to work, that I fucking want to be there. Like I want to be there, and I want to be with the people that I care about. Like, and I want them to be with me. And if they don't want to be with me, I'll hug them and say, look, hopefully I'll see you about, and wish them nothing but success. But that wasn't always my. I had a trait of jealousy in me from my childhood. That wasn't always the case for me. If you didn't want to work for me, I maybe held a grudge or felt a certain way about it. But that's not a way to live. That's another human that we're talking about. And
I think
peace is
that's
the
just.
fuel for writing.
I think that's as well, just kind of being very, very ambitious and so driven. And if things don't go your way, people do have this kind of spoilt mannerism where you feel this like ounce of anger and jealousy and resentment towards someone if they don't want to participate in the way that you want your life to go. And I can completely like, I can comply with that, because if something does not go in my way and I don't like it, and I think that something will benefit me massively, and I can't get to it, then I used to get really, really angry at it. But I always got to remember that passion is just love and anger.
Yeah, and
And it's just anger.
if we're all working off that frequency, people will be much more pleasant to be around. I know myself, the energy that I try and put out every day, it's a much more warming person. And like one thing, Alan, that you do quite a bit, and it's warming, and it's not something that's in the Irish culture. Is when you see every time I see you, I get a hug.
Oh yeah, mate,
and,
always.
and the hug holds on for maybe 1 second longer than I thought, which really it plays a chemical thing here where I'm like, you wanted the hug, which is warming.
Yeah.
So I think energy is going to be a big thing after this.
Yeah.
So how have your habits or your new approaches positively impacted your businesses?
Okay, so I mean, you always, whenever you're trying to reinforce your business or trying to grow your business, it's always really, really important to start from the bottom up. And if you can't do the little things right, then you're not going to do the big things right. And I start my day literally from the moment I wake up. And people, I mean, someone has just asked me, and I've just written the answer out, so it's almost cheating this. I've someone asked me, how are you motivated every day, and the answer is I'm not. But I know the steps it takes me to get me motivated. So there was a guy called William McRaven. He was he was a Navy SEALs admiral, and he does this speech online, and he basically says, if you want to change the world, wake up and make your bed. And it literally is. What he's getting at is just those little tiny adjustments every day will have a massive effect on the rest of your day. So if you get up and you make your bed, that's job one done. It's the first job that you have to do in when you wake up. And if you do that, the sense of fulfillment that you have then will drive you then to create, again, that dopamine, that drug that gets released in your brain just to do another job, another job, another job. And you're like, fuck, I'm on a roll here. I've done 8 jobs and I'm not even at work yet. All just because you made your bed. So if I wake up and I'm tired, then that's all I'll do. I'll do something productive. I'll make myself, and that's it. I'm set.
It's a human reward system.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife has a notepad on our kitchen table, and every day there's a list goes down on it. And as you stroke them off, you're winning. You're in that mind state. It's, for me, Rachel, one of my big daily things, and I'm not fucking stupid. I get in an ice bath every day of life, whether it's at 6 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night. I get in there. The reason being is that it's one of the things that I've found. I've talked about this body EQ, and I see it like that. I don't know if other people do. And basically, it's your nervous system and things that trigger us. When I get in that, I can see a line of tranquility out across my back garden. So that's a daily thing. If I do that in the morning and I have to go into work and say we're having a team meeting, my body EQ is going to be up and down. Or if we go into work and there's a problem, if I have done my rituals in the morning, making bed primary. If you're not making your bed, do not post on social media a motivational quote. Motivation is what gets you going, but this is the next part. Discipline is what keeps you going.
Yeah.
Motivation gets you going day one, then put motivation out of the way. It's discipline.
I think this is why I intermittently fast as well, because it gives, there's so much discipline that's involved, and unconsciously, well, every single time I wake up, I'm a hungry guy, and I will expend anything between, depending on the workout, between 400 and 800 calories per workout. I will go hell for leather. If I have to do 300 calories in 15 minutes, I will do it if I have to. Okay, which means that I am a hungry person. So
what time do you eat, Alan? What time's your first meal?
I'll do 18:6. So I will. No, I'm sorry. I'm telling a lie. I'll do 16:8. So I'll fast for 16 hours and then I'll eat for 8 hours. So my last meal at night at the moment is about 6 o'clock, and then I won't eat until 10 o'clock in the morning. Or if I work and I'm working till 7 and I eat at 7, my first meal is at 11 the next day.
Okay, and what does a meal typically look like?
So I always break my fast with like a banana or a protein yogurt, just something really, really simple and basic and easy on my stomach, with some organic apple cider vinegar and some fresh lime or lemon or orange. And that, once I've broken that fast, then I can wait another hour then before I eat, and I'll eat things like eggs, avocado, some brown toast, and then my lunch will be things like falafel. I'll try not to eat meat during the day.
Okay.
And then my last meal at night can be whatever I want it to be. It can be whatever, as long as I've got all of my macros in there and it's high in calorie. It's got, I've got to kind of extract everything from that over the next 16 hours, and it's great. But the discipline that you have to have, it's tough. You can see, obviously, if you look down the roots of like Islam, and obviously it's Ramadan at the moment, and the reasons why they do it, like for self-discipline and to teach yourself like specific lessons in Islam, it's great for, obviously, for personal development.
Yeah.
And I wake up every day hungry, which means that I'm automatically switched on. Subconsciously, I know full well that something's niggling away at me. I can feel it, and it's like someone doing that, going, "You're hungry, you're hungry, you're hungry." So to have that self-discipline and not eat, and for the rest of obviously my fast, then it kind of helps me be disciplined in other aspects of my life, in business and personally.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's something that I've got quite a bit of interest in over this kind of lockdown period, with barbers reaching out about nutrition and stuff. And what's interesting is that this whole lockdown thing, all of a sudden everybody has started to want an immune system. Whatever an immune system is, I want one, because it takes care of coronavirus, and they want to be fit. I think the biggest problem in this country is that we don't have a health system. We've got a sick system, and if you're not in the sick system, you're deemed healthy.
Yeah.
When at times like this, That's not the case. I'd like to see what some of the government are deeming as healthy today, and with their sugar intake levels and all these things. One of the things, my daily ritual is we get up in the morning and cut a lemon in two. I have a lemon squeezer. I squeeze half the lemon into my wife's glass, half into mine. We take a thumb of ginger, we grate a thumb of ginger, and we squeeze the exact same process into each. Basically, what you're doing is you're turning your body from an acid based into an alkaline base. So ideally, I mean, it's a big thing to stop the growth of cancer. It reduces inflammation. It stops other things growing within your body. I tell you, actually, it was quite interesting. I had a I think it was like a I think it was not an infection. It was like a toothache, kind of, but it was at the pulp. So it kind of confused me, and my dentist couldn't do it. It was deeper, and it was flaring up from time to time. And this is one of the things. It was in around the time that I started it. It's one of the things that stopped it like that. No medication, no antibiotics.
Just making your body alkaline every morning.
Just making your body alkaline every morning. That's a small thing. Doesn't taste great at the start, but these are the things that you need to do to be trigger happy, as I call it.
So, but even though when I first started taking apple cider vinegar and lemon, sometimes I'll add ginger, sometimes I'll add cayenne pepper. If I do it in a shake, I'll put celery in there, which is great for obviously inflammation, and I'll put like a shake together, or even just a drink. And at first, it's awful. Apple cider vinegar in the morning makes you quease it. It makes you quease it. It does.
Yeah.
But now I've because I know that I can see the health benefits from it. Like my entire body shape has changed. My fat composition has changed. My mindset and my happiness, everything about me has changed. So now, even though it tastes rank, I know that it's good for me, and it's kind of made it more attractive. Like I look forward to it now.
Yeah.
It's strange.
But that's changing our values. You value that now, Alan, so passionately. Like you used to value a JD and Coke. You get me?
Or a bottle of Jameson's.
Or a bottle of Jameson's.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're going to start to now summarize the things that we've learned and the things that you've shared today. What I wanted you to just summarize is the ways in which you can tell other barbers what are the 3 things that they should do first before they, to help them in their business and in their life.
Okay.
Sorry, I put you on the spot, haven't I?
Yeah, well, cool. I'll go first. I think one of the big things is your health. Your health comes in many different forms, but the 3 interesting ones for me are your mind, so your spiritual health, your financial health. I think people need to start looking at their spending habits and how much they out of their wage is actually theirs, and your body, the health, like your nutrition, and those things. One of the things I've came across quite a bit recently, and if I'm being honest, I'm working on something here over the lockdown to kind of release, at the end of all of this, is that a lot of barbers have got the skill set up here, but whatever is blocking that through their greasy foods and scrolling, that it's not letting it release. So they constantly feel every 2 to 3 months, fuck, I'm not fading as good as I used to, or I can't remember how to do that. You've studied it, you've done it, but because of some of the patterns that you're running at the minute through lack of discipline, it's not letting you do those things. So my plan is, I've went down the education route, as in the technical aspect. I'm trying to work on another system at the minute that I'd like to release into the sort of barbering world that will delve into that side of things. So yeah, financial health, your spiritual and mind, and then your body.
Brilliant, thank you.
Amazing. Okay, so I would say, there's only one of them I'd like to elaborate on. I think I agree with all 3 of them massively. But so to think of other than what you said, I always think it's great to make goals, but can you imagine what your life would look like if you followed through with all of your intentions? And so many people have all good intentions, great intentions, so many different plans. So follow them through. It's the best advice I can give to you. Stop sitting there with your phone going, do you know what, right? I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this course, and then procrastinate for months and months on end until the dream just disappears. Just imagine where you would be if you followed every single one of them through. So make your goal, think of the system that you need in place to reach that goal, and just follow it through. So there's number one. My second one is elaborating on what you said about financial health. It's really, really, really important that you are financially literate. Do some research on becoming a limited company. Do some research on like corporation tax, on things like what's a liability and what's an asset. Like, use your money. Like, barbers now can earn decent money. Fucking do something with it. Like, stop being so stupid. And like the two things that that are good to me that I enjoy, and I stopped spending money a long time ago and started investing money in things that were going to continue to make me money. My car is one thing that I like, and I've gone from a lease to a purchase, and because at least the purchase, I'm putting money into the car. It's going to be mine at the end of it, and I will own that car and the value of it. That will be mine. It will be an asset. My house is an asset, and it's something that will be left for my children, or we can then sell this and move on to another house. But use your money wisely is the best advice, especially at the moment. If people are getting £10,000 in grants, don't just wax it and think, do you know what, I've got fucking 10 grand in the bank. Spend it wisely, invest it. An asset is something that will make you money, and a liability is something that's going to take you money.
Where did you get that, Alan?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yes.
Great.
Robert Kiyosaki.
It's so good, and it's obviously a long-winded book about that exact. That's all based around what's an asset and what's a liability, and it does. I remember reading that, thinking, all right, I'm gonna save as much money as I can, and I didn't go anywhere for months. I didn't spend anything for months. I did additional work. I worked harder to make more money, to make that initial investment, and I did it. And it's there now, just constantly making money, which is amazing.
Robert Kiyosaki nearly had me having my house up for sale. Your own house that you own, and I'm currently in one that I have a mortgage on, is a liability, not an asset.
I know.
What, the information that we get in the middle class is only a quarter of what the upper class gets. So it's up to us that if you want to make it into that bracket, you have to do the studying.
It's hard.
That's a really good point.
It's hard to kind of think of your own house as a liability, but it is. And the last point is to be nice to each other.
Oh, yes, Alan.
If you see something that somebody has done, compliment it. If you see something on Instagram and you like it, physically like it. There's nothing better than a time like this, where we've definitely taken each other for granted, our families for granted. Everybody's taken their barber for granted. Yeah. Now it's about time that we show some appreciation and show how grateful that we are.
This is energy. We're talking energy here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's brilliant.
Just literally giving out positive energy. The person next to you will absorb anything that you give off, and if you give them something nice, trust me, they'll give it you back.
Brilliant.
That's it. Well, we've come to the end of our time. I'm so grateful for your time and all of the information that you've shared. And so we're going to call it a day and have a great day.
Lovely to see you, mate. Rachel, thank you so much.
Take care. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.